call to order of the meeting of the Brisbane Parks and Rec Commission on October 8th at 6:37 p.m. May I get a roll call, please?
Of course. Chairperson Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Greenlee.
Here.
Commissioner Sewell.
Here.
Commissioner Sims.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
Nope, just all in favor.
Oh, all in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Okay. Adoption of agenda.
Nope, just
Oh, excuse me. Approval of minutes. Put your glasses on.
I move to approve the minutes of July 9th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It's September 10th.
Do we have any citizen communications?
I'm sorry, can we go back? It's minutes from September 10th.
Ah, that's right.
Oh, September 10th. Sorry.
Approval of minutes for
I was
September.
looking at them. Never mind.
Approval of minutes for September 10th.
I approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Let's get our ratings up.
Thank you.
We do stupid things.
That's what we're all here for.
Tom
Do
was
we have-
recommending we start with a comedy skit, right?
We need our ratings up.
Do we have any citizen communications?
We do not.
All right, thank you. Presentations, we have an informal overview of the Baylands specific plan.
Yeah, so we have representatives here from Baylands Development, Inc., who are going to provide an informational presentation, and I'm sure at the end they'd be happy to address any questions that the commission might have. So I will go ahead and turn it over to them.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Katie Loic-Sunday, Director of Community Relations for the Baylands, and I'm joined by Stephanie Shakovsky and Michelle Lynn, also at the Baylands. And on the phone, we have Dylan Deers with OJB, who is the landscape architect that worked on the specific plan. Next slide, please. Just a quick agenda for our presentation tonight. We'll start with some background on the specific plan, and then we'll have an overview of the conservation and open space chapter, and then at the end, I'll leave some time for Q&A. Next slide. So you all may or may not be familiar with the specific plan and the history of it, but as a reminder, this is a document that was required as part of Measure JJ. And the goal of this document is to detail the land use program for the project and also to address the priority policy areas that you see on the slide here. Before, though, I jump into the rest of the presentation, I did want to clarify something. The specific plan and specific plans in general are the developer's intent for the project. It is our proposal for what we'd like to do with the project. You may have recently also heard about the draft environmental impact report. That document is a CEQA document, so a document that's required under the state's Environmental Quality Act. And that document is intended to measure the potential environmental impacts of our project as it's described in the specific plan. So because there's some similarities with these documents, we do often get questions about that. So I wanted to clarify that our presentation tonight will focus on the specific plan since that is our document, not so much about the draft EIR since that is the city's document since they are the CEQA lead agency for the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that as we go on. Next slide, please. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to take a look at our specific plan. If you have, you've probably seen it is a very long document. There are 10 chapters, which you can see outlined on the slide here. And I'm not going to have time to get into all of that content today, so I'm going to focus on Chapter 5, which is the Conservation and Open Space chapter, since that's probably most relevant for all of you. But we're always happy to follow up and take questions on any material that we don't have time to cover tonight. Next slide, please. This rendering gives you an aerial view of the open space network that we'll be discussing today. more than 25% of the project is dedicated to open space. And I want to acknowledge that this is an area where we receive a lot of questions, mainly because there are different definitions of open space and open area. Measure JJ established that 25% of the land area on the Baylands development would be open space / open area. Now, when you're looking at this slide, everything that you see in green, those are open spaces as defined by the Brisbane General Plan. That includes the restored habitats on Icehouse Hill and new parks like Baylands Park, but it does not include areas like the solar field or the lagoon. Additionally, there are landscaped areas and setbacks throughout the development that fall into the category of open area. When combined, this is a significant portion of our project, probably around 40%. But even when we just take the open spaces that you see in green on this map, that's still more than 25% of our project. And that calculation was done taking sea level rise into account. The bottom line is an accessible, interconnected open space network is the foundation of this specific plan. It's not just a feature. Next slide. The Baylands Open Space Network includes a diverse range of typologies that create habitats for flora and fauna, improve the quality of hydrologic systems, and provide recreation and connectivity opportunities for the Brisbane community. Some of the examples of these open spaces are ecological green spaces, active recreation areas, community greens, trails and pedestrian networks, and a public urban plaza at the Caltrain station. And to orient you on the land use plan, if you're not familiar with it, if you look at this map on the slide and you start at the bottom, the primary focus at the south end of the development is open space and recreational uses, most of which are existing natural habitats that we will enhance and restore. The open space then extends into each of the neighborhoods to the north, weaving through the commercial district and connecting with the restored roundhouse before continuing north of Main Street and up through the residential districts. On the east side of the Caltrain tracks, you can see there are some gray parcels to the north. Those are both intended to be commercial uses. And then you can see there's another gray square south of Visitation Creek, and that is where the solar farm will be. And of course, throughout the project, there's an extensive pedestrian and bike network to connect folks not only within the Baylands, but also to the surrounding neighborhoods and region so everyone can enjoy these new spaces. Next slide. So in the next few slides, we'll share some examples of the open spaces at the Baylands, and we'll start here with the Bayshore Caltrain Plaza. This plaza welcomes commuters to and from the Baylands, and it includes areas for transit boarding and queuing, an arrival plaza with a cafe garden, outdoor seating, a kiosk with time boards, and bike parking. There will also be a dedicated Baylands shuttle drop-off area, as well as a separate multimodal drop-off area, which supports unloading from private vehicles, mass transit, and other related shuttle needs as determined by Caltrain, Samtrans, SFMTA, and other transit agencies. Next slide. So there's a green spine, which you can see on the map here, that runs through the residential neighborhoods of the Baylands, and it serves as a connector from the adjacent Leland Square district at the north, which is actually part of the San Francisco piece of the Baylands. And then it connects all the way down to the roundhouse. A key section of this linear green is Baylands Park. And this park serves as a central social green space and provides diverse amenities. Some of the proposed uses for this area include native and botanic gardens, a community recreational lawn, a play area, event lawn, dog park, a restroom pavilion, art walk, and some flexible seating areas, which you can see some examples of on the slide. Next slide, please. The community greens, like Baylands Park, are situated to provide maximum visibility and accessibility to the open spaces. This park is also a great example of the scale of the open space network. So even though I know on the last two slides, this linear park looked like the little strip of green on the map, but it's actually about 200 feet wide, which is nearly the width of the Panhandle in San Francisco. So that gives you a sense of even a smaller portion of the open space network is really quite significant. Next slide, please. Roundhouse Park is a unique multi-purpose feature of the open space network. When Southern Pacific Railroad operated this property, they had a roundhouse that was used for daily maintenance of steam locomotives. The roundhouse was a large brick building with a turntable that reversed the direction of trains. It is one of only a few remaining in the state, and it will be rehabilitated to celebrate the legacy of the site. And the park design aims to showcase this history of the roundhouse while also providing space for community events, celebration, arts, and outdoor dining. And some of the additional proposed uses at Roundhouse Park include a flexible lawn, informal play area, an art and history garden, event pavilion, bermed seating, and an open-air theater that will utilize the cast iron columns and beams at the inner curved wall of the roundhouse, which you can sort of get a sense of on the slide here. Next slide. So the community fields are located at the southwestern portion of the site, closest to downtown Brisbane. And some of the proposed uses in this area are a flexible recreation lawn, a ball field, picnic and games area, an amenity pavilion with restrooms, playground, fitness stations, buffer plantings, and shade structures. The community field will also support connections to pedestrian and bicycle trails, one of which is the existing Crocker Recreational Trail, which connects through that old Bayshore Tunnel. So it's a great pedestrian access point for folks in Brisbane to access this park. This park will also connect to Icehouse Hill, the Tunnel Avenue overpass, and Ecological Park, which is one of the new parks in the Baylands. Next slide. So in addition to the recreation areas, the Baylands includes significant ecological green spaces, which are intended to preserve, enhance, and protect ecological areas while balancing the needs of the community with habitat resources. You can see at the bottom of the slide here some examples of these green spaces, including Ecological Park, Visitation Creek, Lagoon Park, and Icehouse Hill. And as you may be aware, the Baylands used to be part of the Bay, and years of filling for the railroad and dumping of garbage for the municipal landfill really eroded that area and disrupted the natural habitats and left most of the site without native soils. So because of that, there are 3 different strategies that we'll be using to address habitats on the Baylands. They are habitat protection, restoration, and enhancement and creation. And you can see them color-coded on the map here. Starting with habitat protection, those areas include the tidal marsh and tidal flat habitat along the Brisbane Lagoon edge. So that's kind of the lighter purple on the slide there. Buffer areas around Icehouse Hill and the stormwater detention area. Restoration, which is that darker purple area, is really focused on Icehouse Hill, and that includes invasive species removal, as well as shrub encroachment control and native revegetation to restore butterfly host plant patches. Then lastly, we have habitat creation and enhancement. That's kind of the green striped area that you see on the map. And those areas are Visitation Creek and the created freshwater wetlands, the upland habitat adjacent to the Lagoon Marsh, the open space south of Icehouse Hill, coastal scrub areas in the Baylands Preserve Connector, and all of the new recreation areas. And if you go to the next slide, I think that brings me to the end of my prepared slides. That gives you obviously a very high-level overview of the open space network. There's a lot more information in the specific plan, but I really wanted to dedicate the rest of our time today to any questions that you have. We are also hosting a listening session with the San Francisco Estuary Institute, and they're going to help us gather some additional subject matter expert feedback on this chapter of the specific plan. So that will be in early November if any of you would like to join us for that. So with that, I will open it up for questions. Thank you.
First, I wanted to say that I was really happy to see that you guys addressed like walkability in the plan because I know that's something that's easy to overlook, especially with, you know, the benefits to siloing different areas, especially in an overview like this. And I'm specifically interested in a lot of the third spaces and outsource spaces. And a lot of the images I saw had a lot of detached tables, like tables that aren't attached to anything. And I know that those over time have a lot of tendency to walk off, as we might say, or other things if they aren't maintained or held down. So I wanted to know what sort of plan there was for that.
That's a great question. So obviously the maintenance and management of each park and open space will be slightly different depending on its intended use. So Baylands Park, for example, is a really active area, so you see a lot more things like those tables and whatnot, whereas Ice House Hill or Ecological Park are much more focused on habitat, so they'll probably have a different strategy. And really what will probably drive that decision is how that's being managed, which honestly is not part of the specific plan. So the specific plan really sets our intention for the development, and it prepares for the zoning changes to the Baylands. It doesn't get into quite that level of detail in terms of who will be managing it, how will they select furniture, how will they manage things like that. That will probably come about through discussions with the city and deciding how that's going to be managed. So for example, in parks all over the country, some parks are managed by the local Parks and Rec department, others are managed by a foundation or an HOA. There's different ways that can be facilitated, and that entity would probably be the one deciding some of those things like how the furniture is selected and properly cared for so it doesn't walk away and things like that. Michelle or anyone, anything to add? Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. So as long as I'm sure it'll be kept in mind, and everyone will work together on that as we get to
Yeah.
more specifics of the plan.
Absolutely. And I think an important part to remember about this is that, you know, even though we're going through all these approvals right now and, you know, getting to the place where we hope to be entitled soon, ultimately this is not the end of the conversation. You know, there will be ongoing discussions and community engagement as we move into the implementation phase of this project. So there's a lot of opportunity for input on things like that as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question. Although this is kind of the first time I'm really looking at this with any detail. My question is about remediation and planting of vegetation, because I noticed you had a lot of real mature looking trees, you know, all over the place. And how do you plant? I understand that a lot of the remediation is going to be a cap.
So there's, well,
okay.
I'll let you finish your question.
Okay, just how are you going to handle both remediation and restoration and landscaping in general? When are you bringing in a bunch of soil to plant in, and how does that affect, you know, even planting trees whose roots are going to go way down? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to let our expert help answer that. But really quick, I just want to mention that we do have cleanup plans approved for both sides of the project. And there's the landfill side, which is where you're mentioning the cap. That's our landfill closure plan. On the other side, the railroad side, there are remedial action plans. So it's a different approach on that side of the project. And each of those plans, which are publicly available if anyone wants to take a look at them, they sort of outline the menu of options for cleaning up the site. And part of that is things like moving soil. And I'm going to let Stephanie, if you want to, or Dylan. I guess Dylan, who's on the Zoom, can talk a little bit about the trees.
Yeah, I think one of the important notes, you know, that's outlined right now from the team is the landfill closure plan is critical to the conversation that we're having right now, which includes an impenetrable liner to that cap. In terms of the depth of the trees that are outlined in the species plan, is not a dominant taproot where anything is over prior landfill. So in terms of horizontal root system, majority of trees within our palette. They're a spreading root system that's within the really the 36 to 42-inch zone. So most trees are always, in terms of what we have on this palette, in that upper profile to avoid any dimensional conflict with the liner and the depth of the soil. It's also important to note that much of our planting areas also far exceed that 4 to 5 feet, because we're actually berming and looking at ways in which we migrate and move water and drainage throughout the certain habitats and parkland spaces of the Baylands.
I would also just comment that there's a lot of wind, which I'm sure you're familiar with out there.
Very much.
Yeah, and I pity the trees that are left exposed on berms that don't have real deep roots. I just worry about that. But I'm sure, appropriate landscaping will happen. And I hope a lot of it's native, and I hope a lot of it takes into account that it needs to be maintained and hopefully kept, not just plopped in the ground, but kept looking really good for the people who live there. Anyways.
Yeah, I just wanted to read, in particular, page 269 of the specific plan, which is section 5.4.5, which describes planting, goes into great detail to many of I think the concerns that you're speaking towards, which really speaks to the heart and the ecotone of what the plant design of Baylands is after. And this is really also an extension of the community outreach workshops and visioning sessions that we had, and even specific one-on-one community dialogue that both OJB and Baylands has acquired over time. But I do want to note that in terms of the biotic and native habitat, that particular section goes into a great detail, and it very much speaks to the heart and the spirit of your particular question and comment there.
Okay, thanks. And I'm just curious about Ice House Hill, which we used to call Horse Hill. I guess there's not going to be horses up there. Is that the plan?
I think that remains to be determined on
Okay.
whether or not the individual who has the horses wants to keep them there. And I think there would be some collaboration with the specialists that we're working with on the revegetation of Ice House Hill to determine if those uses can coexist. So I think there's still some discussions to be had around that.
Okay, because that's been a long history of this town, of having the horses out there. Even an opportunity to have, because when my son was little, I would take him out there and we would take apples to the horses, and there were chickens and other little farm animals around there, and it was just a great little piece of country,
Yeah.
that we would enjoy. And it would be great if that was continued in some way, maybe a more formal way. It's been very informal for a long time. But it'd be a great place for kids to go out and interact with, a little piece of country, which Brisbane is part of.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Well, we have a farm. It's a tank farm.
No.
What? That thing is such a juggernaut. Is there any? How do we get rid of that? We need more
you might have
soccer
to talk
fields.
to Kinder Morgan and SFO about that one.
Because
Yeah.
that's like, I'm looking
is
at
a
your
big
plan, and
eyesore.
there it is, right? That
It-
little piece of land right there.
Yeah, we
How do we get?
have to build around it. That's not part
Well,
of our
there's
project.
climate change and sea level rise and butterflies.
And are you putting the soccer fields right next to the tank farm?
That's my
It's-
big complaint.
The current area is somewhat adjacent. It's not next to the tank farm. But yeah, there's the Caltrain runs in between the tank farm and if you go back to slide
Yeah,
think it
I'd like to
was
see a map of that.
3. Keep going back. Oh, sorry. Not 3. Maybe one more. Thank you. So do you see that turquoise area in the middle of the project there? That's the stormwater detention area. And just south of that, there's a gray kind of oval with a dotted line around it. That is the Kinder Morgan tank farm. And then directly west of that is the Caltrain tracks. And then if you continue going west, that is where you have some buffering, and then you have the community green spaces.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, the
The
community,
Community
the yellow.
fields. Wait a minute. Fields are the yellow, right?
Yes, that is
It's
correct.
that yellow square and the little leg that's sitting on the top right corner is Kinder Morgan, right?
No.
No?
So that is
Funny.
what are they called? Machinery something.
Yeah,
Oh, the
that's a-
maintenance yard.
It's where there's like
Okay.
some old
That's a private
Equipment.
property right now, where more of it's, you know,
I gotcha.
a collection of old things that are stored
Right.
on site. So there's really about a 350-foot dimension or greater, because it's a dimensional offset that grows from north to south from Caltrain's offset. So there's a separation. The community ball fields start right at the firehouse. And what we had worked together as a team and community was to extend and grow the parking lot adjacent to the firehouse and continue north. So it had a wonderful connection over to Brisbane underneath
Oh yeah,
Bayshore Boulevard.
yeah, it's that nice flat area right now where the native plant nursery is. Okay, so that teeny little green, where is Kinder Morgan? It's that little green.
See the turquoise in the middle
Go to page 20.
that says stormwater detention area, right in the middle. Yeah. So then
That's-
where the mouse is, if you're able to
Yep.
see the mouse, and then directly south of that,
Mhm.
that is Kinder Morgan, that larger gray oval with the dotted line.
But that's
around
not where the tanks are, is
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Really? Oh, you've moved the road.
Well, we haven't moved Caltrain.
Okay. Oh, you didn't move Caltrain. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you talking about Tunnel Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tunnel Road is still essentially in the same
In the same
area.
spot. Oh, I see.
Next to
Okay. I'm sorry. I was reading the Caltrain as Tunnel Road.
Oh, that's
sorry.
confusing. No,
That was me.
that's confusing. And it is. I mean, it's a fair question. I think, it is not the most sightly project, and we do have to build around it and plan for it in terms of, safety and berming and shielding and things like that. But that's not our project, and as I understand, it's pretty critical infrastructure to support SFO, so we probably aren't going to be the ones to move them.
Okay.
So that's something we just have to plan carefully around.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. One soccer field and one baseball diamond. No tennis courts. How many residents in there?
There's 2,200 residences planned.
How many residents?
People.
I mean, that'll depend. 2.2, so call that 4,000 or so people.
So
Yeah.
the same population as this, as our existing population.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, we're overused on all of our
Yeah.
facilities. So I would love to see more
Yeah.
soccer, baseball, tennis.
So everything right now in terms of what's on this open space network, again, the specific plan is what's going to allow us to rezone the Baylands for certain types of uses. And so there is flexibility in how this eventually is implemented. And I think this plan right now is built on the foundation of a couple things. One is those community outreach sessions that Dylan mentioned. A lot of those happened, I think the most recent ones were in 2019. So there's, of course, opportunity for new feedback since then. And then the other kind of really foundational piece here is Measure JJ, the voter resolution that passed in 2018. So that set in place a number of parameters for how we develop the site. So for example, all of the residential on the Baylands is north of Main Street and west of the Caltrain track. So it's kind of that upper left quadrant of the property. So all of that and like the amount of commercial we can build all comes out of Measure JJ. So that really built the framework for the specific plan as it is right now. But when it comes to the exact, type of programming that's in these spaces, there is opportunity to refine that as we, get into the approval process and eventually into implementation. And we're balancing, obviously, different feedback throughout the community because there's other folks who want less fields, more fields, and so we're trying to find that right balance to make sure we're protecting the habitats, but then also really giving this community the resources that they need.
I love it. It's close to the main bowl, right? The main part of town. That's nice.
Yeah, and that
Seems sparse. It's gonna
tunnel,
be- yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the old Bayshore Tunnel.
Sure.
I think that's a really great feature that will eventually have this,
Oh.
existing Brisbane Trail connect right into our property. And
Very
that way
cool.
you can also walk onto that field area without necessarily needing to cross Bayshore Boulevard.
Let
if
us
you're a
know how we
pedestrian.
can help.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we really are pushing forward. We're hoping to get this in front of the Planning Commission and City Council next year. So we appreciate you listening and hope that you'll continue to support us as this moves forward.
And I guess, first of all, thank you for being here and presenting it to us. Obviously, we're Parks and Rec. We love to see green space. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think I'm just thinking in the world of hypotheticals. We have the 25% parks space, green space that we need. What happens if, how malleable is this plan? And who will be the ultimate determinants of how this plan evolves? Even if someday you all aren't there doing it, it's someone else. I guess those are my questions.
So, as I mentioned hopefully in the spring, I'm proposing, we'll have a package of materials that go to the Planning Commission and eventually to City Council. So that will be the final specific plan, the final environmental impact report, a development agreement that lays out some of the phasing in more detail, and then what will be approved then is a change in the zoning. And so if something changes in the future and a new developer comes in or something like that, they still will have to abide by the zoning that was passed as part of this effort, and they will have to abide generally by the specific plan. But that's why when I talk about the specific plan being the intention, it sets out the framework for how this development can come together. There is room for some tinkering, as the community wants. But for example, if someone came in and said, I want to scrap this and build something entirely different, they would have to basically start this whole process over again in terms of an environmental impact report and a new specific plan, changes to zoning potentially, all of that. So that I wouldn't recommend it, but that that would be what would be required. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question.
Of course.
Remediation.
Yes.
Could you kind of go over that again? I
Yeah.
heard something about a cap, and I'm familiar with that area.
Oh,
Very
great.
familiar.
Yeah, that's great. Do you want to take that one?
I also wanted to make one other comment that we know that this commission has been asked to provide comments on the specific plan to the city manager by the end of the year. So, have you not been asked? You're looking blankly at me.
No, go ahead.
Huh?
What you have to say.
Yes, so I want to make sure that the comments that you're giving us tonight can also be put in your written comments back to the city on the specific plan. On remediation, we have basically two remedial action plans. One has been approved by the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the San Mateo County Department of Health on the landfill closure plan. And I can go into more detail on that. The other one is the remedial action plan for the rail yard site. That's being overseen by the Department of Toxic Substance Control and the Regional Water Quality Control Board. That also, those plans have been approved. And they are a mix of capping and in play, well, some removal based on levels of contamination, but mostly a capping in place and a 5-foot clean fill on top of this, on the rail yard site.
Okay. Okay.
And
Anything
I
else?
thought you were going to have a follow-up.
Trying to think of what I want to say.
Oh, okay. I
Uh,
can go back to Commissioner Greenlee's comment about the
trees.
yeah, the trees. I mean, we do, I think, as Dylan mentioned, we do have a selection of, nothing has been set in stone here. Our specific plan is conceptual and illustrative by nature based on a lot of feedback. There are certain things set in stone, like how much green space we have to have, but, and kind of where it's going. But other than that, we're open, and there's going to be, once we're entitled, obviously, before we get permits, there's going to be a lot more a dialogue with the city and with the community. But we're very familiar with planting on a remediated site. So the 5-foot fill on the rail yard site, that should accommodate most of the planting palette that we're talking about. As you probably know, we're looking at most rooting depths of anywhere between 12 to 36 inches, and we've got a 60-inch clean cap. And then the trees that we selected have more of we're trying to avoid the deep taproot and have more of the horizontal rooting structures than the deep vertical ones. So a lot of that has to go into the planning for that, because you're absolutely right. You don't want to plant a tree that has deep roots on a site that may have some compromised groundwater.
I'm excited and curious, shall we say, about the creek area. Is that an area that you envision, because it is a wetland, it's a natural creek, is that connected to the open space mountain area? Is there kind of a connection there that allows for like a wet habitat to happen? And is it going to be left as kind of a wild area that people have little trails into that they can walk? Or is it just going to be left to kind of just be habitat, which I'm fine with either way. I just like more of a description.
Yeah. Again, we have a pretty detailed description of what we're calling it Visitation Park. We're Visitation Creek, what is now, we call it Visitation Creek. Historically, it's called the Central Drainage Channel, because it is part of the stormwater drainage system for most of the uplands in Brisbane and Daly City. So it is the stormwater drain, this Central Drainage Channel. So all the stormwater that's collected currently runs through the Baylands, under the railroad tracks, into the Visitation Creek, or the Central Drainage Channel, goes under a culvert under the 101, and then to the bay. Yeah. Right now, the plan is we would be.
Stephanie, on that, there's a really critical. Just Dylan jumping in here. There's a really critical figure. I don't know if people have the specific plan in front of them, but figure 5.3.2 describes very well, what Stephanie's describing in words there in terms of how the Visitation Creek works, not only with this property, but also the drainage that comes from the community in the city of Brisbane to the west and makes its way out to the bay.
Is it habitat or just a pipe?
Currently?
No, it's
no. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, in the future, it very much is a part of habitat. And again, that goes back to the community's ask, going back to our critical workshops that we had in 2019. the Visitation Creek is very much an ecological type of purpose where it's really serving the hydrology and the flows both from stormwater, but also tidally influenced. And that also is really, there's some wonderful figures that describe that, you know, the function and the program of that open space within the specific plan.
Yeah, because Brisbane, just in general, our mountain has springs, we have beautiful wetlands, we have reptiles, we have wonderful shorebirds, as I'm sure you're familiar, and migratory birds whose habitat is just dwindling.
Right.
So I would really, really love to see that area. I mean, I'd like to see little trails that people can, you know, look at birds, whatever. But I want, just my dream is to have it as habitat for nature
Yeah.
that people can visit but stay away from. I mean,
And Commissioner Greenlee, that is
Yeah.
currently what is in the specific
That's
plan.
what I kind of
You'll see
envisioned,
is that
yeah.
it is it is still serving as a stormwater drain to the bay, but it is more natural, and it also has proposed wetlands on either side of the creek right now. And so it's almost a 32-acre park. It's very limited trails. There are some trails through the system, but there's, you know, you're not going to see playgrounds or things
no,
like
yeah, there's trails all
Or-
over
basketball
our areas
courts
of
there.
habitat that we have in town here too.
I want a pool.
For ducks and dogs. Yeah.
And just to refer back to the specific plan, figure 5.3.
We don't have the
0.3.
specific plan in front of us unless you want to pull it up from the city's website.
Well, I think if you go to our deck, sorry, on the last slide, I put some extra slides with renderings. Oh, yep, keep going. This one. So
Yeah, see how that's
that kind of
That's-
elevated walkways where people can observe, but they're not stomping around
Right.
in the
Yeah,
vegetation.
that is
that
the-
would be wonderful.
That is our conceptual design.
And I know right now it's nothing. I mean, it is something, but it
Would-
could be improved a lot. And I hope that,
Yeah.
you know, with the right experts and that nature will come back, because nature does.
Yeah, it's highly degraded right now. It never was a natural, I mean, it was, you know, it was a central drainage channel, but the plan is to, you know, to maximize that area for a natural, for restoration.
All right, I have a question. Where does Recology fit into this?
They're staying where they are. They're not
Okay.
part of our plan. Yeah. We don't have the specific plan with us, but they, you know, they've got a little corner up there, and yeah, the plan is they're staying there with their facilities.
Okay, how
And
about,
so everybody who's out there now, Golden State Lumber, Recology, the tank farm, as we talked about, is not going.
Interesting.
So yeah, we don't own those properties.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
what about the space on the other side across from Recology? You know, when you come from the old Candlestick, and you make the shortcut onto Tunnel Road, I can't think of the name of that. Is it?
I think that's
Just off Beatty?
It's not ours.
Yeah.
I mean,
that-
off
that's
Beatty
not-
there?
Yeah. the
Where you
si-
used to park if you were going to Candlestick? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm just talking about the space across the street, which says Baylands on it, or future site. What's the remedial plans for all that? Or is it part of it?
I'm lost.
Okay.
Can we put the map back up, please? Maybe you can point to it. If you go back,
Oh, that was a good one.
yeah,
there,
this
that.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you see where Beatty Road is up there? You see where Recology is up?
Uh-huh.
Who's driving here?
There's the lumber.
You can take the mouse up the. Yeah.
San Francisco, isn't it?
That's
Not quite. You're
Recology.
still in Brisbane there.
That's Recology.
That's where Recology has a section in Brisbane and also in San Francisco.
Yeah, they split. Yeah,
I
right across
didn't know
from-
the lumber yard was staying. That's cool.
Yeah. Sustainability.
So no pool.
There's no pool in the
No
plan.
school.
But I said we could, make sure you put your comments to our plan
But we
in
are
your
Park and
comments
Rec,
to the
Yeah, we are
to
Park and
the
Rec.
to the city manager. Yeah. I think, Chair Davis, you're talking about where you're coming off Beatty Road, and that is what we're building a battery storage facility there
Oh, okay.
for the state grid and PG&E. And that is part of the landfill, that's also part of the landfill closure plan. That's all,
That's what I'm
Garbage up
concerned
there.
with. I know.
Mhm.
yeah, almost from just a little north of Beatty Road and then all the way down to Lagoon Shoreline
Right.
is garbage.
Mhm.
And the Lagoon Shoreline was sort of the berm that they put for their cell. They filled garbage up to that site, and they were actually getting ready to start the next cell, which included the lagoon, and the city of Brisbane residents stopped that. So that's why you have the that's why you have the
A lagoon.
Lagoon, yeah. They leapfrog over the lagoon and went and filled in Oyster Point, Sierra Point.
Sierra Point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sierra Point, which is on garbage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
It's a little off topic, but or going back a little bit, I guess. There was a lining mentioned. That's not really a practice I'm familiar with. Could you guys go over that in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, that's on the landfill closure plan. So the idea is our landfill operated from 1937 to 1967, and it operated during the time when there weren't any regulations. Now there's new regulations. All garbage landfills have to have lining, they have to have cover every day, and it's very, very restricted. Ours was what they call pre-regulation, and they literally just dumped garbage right into the bay. What we are required to do, and then after we closed in 67, that's when we started the soil importing and the soil and the concrete recycling program. So there is huge amounts of, and it varies over the site, but the site is covered with dirt anywhere from 4 feet to 40 feet across the site. So there's no exposed garbage, but what we have to do in our landfill closure plan now is we have to put a liner on that whole area to keep moisture, to keep rainwater from percolating through, getting into the garbage layer, and then carrying out effluent from the garbage into the bay. That's the liner system on the landfill closure plan.
And that's 5 feet down?
No, it just has to be above the garbage layer.
Okay.
And then as we build it out, depending upon what we're doing, then there'll have to be more soil on top of that. Yeah.
The 5 feet, was that the remediation site that you had to like cap it with 5 feet of?
Clean soil.
What happens in the event of an earthquake with that? Like, are there cracks? Like, have there been situations where there's been a remediated site and they've had an earthquake like ours?
Well, we had Loma Prieta was probably the most recent, and we saw, as you saw, most of the damage was in the marina area in San Francisco because that was built on old fill, but it was built in the 1930s and 40s when the construction codes were kind of non-existent. Today, I think the construction codes, all of that is highly regulated through building code and construction codes, and the soils, of course, when they're being built on, will be compacted, and so we have geotechnical engineers that are drawing up plans for all of that have to be consistent with state and local construction.
I know from experience of building a house in Brisbane, because Brisbane itself has a lot of garbage in the soil, that anytime I hit garbage on my lot, it had to be capped, and it had to be, there had to be so much compacted soil on top of it before I could put a foundation down. And then the foundation had to go down so many feet. I mean, it was a lot. But if there's an earthquake, you all need to come to my house because it will be standing fine. And I imagine that it's that times 10
Yeah.
because mine's just a little house.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank
Building
you,
codes.
Commissioner. Yeah.
To connect to what Julie was talking about, what will be the, I guess, shallowest point from like dirt at the end of the project to that sort of seal? Because I know even I've dug 5 feet down just in my backyard. So, what is the sort of threshold there?
Are we talking about the landfill site or the rail yard site? Because there are also different contaminants of concern. So the landfill site is garbage, and there's
The like lining. I'm assuming that's like a physical thing.
Yeah, what is the liner? What is that made out of?
Yep.
it's
Yeah,
a
what is the liner?
geotextile fabric.
Okay.
So it's a very common material that's used to cover landfills. But there's a whole section of it in the specific plan that discusses the type of fabric that we're using, but it's called a geotextile fabric. And
What's it called?
a geotextile fabric, yeah.
And what's the depth at the closest point to the surface from that geotextile fabric?
Well, it depends upon where we're building, what we're building. We don't have a lot of, most of the infrastructure and the parks are going on the landfill site. So I don't think we've engineered that yet, but it will be, obviously there has to be something for the root depths for the plants that we're planting and just structural soundness. But yeah, it'll be substantive.
Okay, this is just a real general question, but we are Park and Rec.
Yeah.
Park facilities, besides fields, are you guys getting down to the specifics of possibly a pool or a rec center or a art center or, stuff that us as Park and Rec would really love to have?
I'm just worried because we're going to double our population. Our pools are already inundated. Our soccer fields are overused. We're doubling our population, and it's going to cause impact to this area and just all the kids' opportunities. If you go look at Crocker Amazon, that is a huge success story for inclusivity and getting out and getting healthy. I just don't see any other things that are outdoor rec that are other than a soccer field and a baseball diamond.
So is that
I
not
worry
been
about
planned
that.
yet, or what's the deal?
Dylan, do you want to make a comment on the active parts of the project?
It's more about impact to our town and our facilities than not having them. For me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be great for you all to share, these active comments. I will say during the community outreach in 2019, much of the community actually wanted passive and natural recreation, meaning less sports and activity fields, as you all are describing here today. So in terms of the outreach and the community feedback, was part of principal the 2019 effort and how that landed into the current plan that you see in the specific plan, in which the community actually asked for not a dedicated soccer field, but a flexible field that could be deployed and used in multiple purposes. There was an ask for a ball field, which you see here today. I will say the Baylands Park and Roundhouse Park in particular, similar to many of the parks that we build across the country, would have an extensive amount of activity and program through them that would speak very much to what Parks and Rec would like to see in terms of community development and things as simple as yoga or activities sun up to sundown. The Baylands Park and Roundhouse can certainly meet that particular input that the community had in 2019.
That's a
Um,
long
so-
time ago.
That was long.
It is a long
It's
time ago.
pre-pandemic.
I'm just wondering, like, community center space, multi-purpose recreational space, which I think might be in that roundhouse area. I know there was like a theater space.
Conceptually, yeah.
Conceptually.
Theater space, and that is also something that.
And is that a community theater space? Like used by the community, not a commercial theater space? Or you don't know? I don't know.
It's a conceptual.
Okay, idea.
It's not.
It's also an outdoor.
Yeah,
It's a
and
theater. Yeah.
Oh, it's outdoor.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not, because I think you're asking about like indoor
Mhm.
stage kind of theater. So that's an outdoor sort of amphitheater with
Okay.
a lawn,
Lovely.
which, presumably could be available for different types of community
That's awesome.
programming or
Yeah.
performances. But that does not include like a true stage indoor theater.
Yeah, because like we have our gazebo, we have a good park, outdoor space. It's used a lot. But a real community center would be awesome.
Well, and I will say, just doing like back of the envelope math, it's 5,500 people. We have less than that in this town. So I think the work is, and what you're asking is for us to come back with what we would need, because we do have facilities that are over capacity. And if you add to that like twice the number of people potentially, then I think that'll guide us to what we need, given that the last time we looked at this was 6 years ago.
So
Right.
Yeah.
if I may, the commission will have an opportunity to provide formal recommendation to the planning commission before the end of the year. So these are all really great questions. We'll agendize the topic for your meeting in November. And you can make the recommendation to the planning commission. The city council will review that, and the city council will have the opportunity to negotiate community benefits through the development agreement.
Okay, that's great. Yeah,
you.
I think that's where we were veering off into.
Perfect.
How can we all get together and work on getting rid of the farm? All of us.
Is there a possibility to just dig like a canal from the lagoon to the pipe farm?
Yeah. We don't disagree, and we've looked at it, but as Katie pointed out, it's serious infrastructure for the airport. So there's a pipeline that leaves the Richmond refinery and comes under the bay to the tank farm, and then there's a pipeline that leaves the tank farm and runs along the bay shore to the SFO airport. So
Yeah.
it would be a Herculean task to move that.
They've threatened to move,
They never will.
and they never will. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a juggernaut.
Yeah, yeah. We would also if you haven't looked at Measure JJ, that's also 2018. I also understand that that's a long time ago. But Measure JJ also had a big emphasis on restoration and enhancement of the open space and parks, and not so much on the active. So
I think there are lots of opportunities for both. I really do. But I do think that just thinking forward as far as things that could be built, for our recreational facilities that are under a lot of strain, that's something we can think about and then
Okay.
come back to you.
great, great. Well, we appreciate the time, and thank you. And we're available for questions at any time, and we look forward to your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody want to talk about before we move on? All right.
Can I say something really, really quick? How do we, we're going to agendize this for next time. We're going to come
Correct.
back with ideas. So maybe
Yes.
next meeting, everybody can come with their wish list and we can hash some things out in a more organized way. Yep.
Is there details like children versus adults, as far as the income, low, medium, high?
You mean in terms of what's anticipated for the
Yeah.
Baylands?
Any children, all that's great.
I mean, I think it's speculative at this point, but yeah, I would encourage all of you to review the specific plan prior to that meeting so that you're well-versed in understanding kind of the context of the conversation.
Okay.
So,
And
Okay.
in terms of being well versed in the context of the conversation, what is the sort of, I guess I should say the standard between what is written and then what is actually sort of built and how that is executed? Like, I know there's zoning requirements and stuff like that that get pretty strict, but in terms of maintenance and other sort of looser things like this, how closely are those things tied?
I mean, I think that depends on the direction from city council as they're further into this process. So,
Anyone
Okay.
else before we move on? Okay, on to aquatics programs and services.
thank you.
Pool.
Oh,
Yep. Thank you, Baylands. Please, we won't be offended if you walk out now. But thank you for coming tonight. And
Don't go.
it's my pleasure to introduce Sarah, who is our coordinator and oversees our aquatics programs. And she's going to provide an overview of aquatics.
Thank you. So yes, like she said, my name is Sarah, and we'll talk about the pool. Speak up. I need to be louder. Jovi, can you change this slide, please? Hopefully they have their little fun. Oh, okay. So first we have our party rentals, so people can rent out just the gazebo, which is in the photo you see there, or like during our open recreation swim, or they can rent out the whole pool for private parties. So it's kind of the season of April through October of when people want parties. We've had 22 gazebo rentals, which some are still coming up this month, and 10 private parties. One of those was the Bright Mind, including the Bright Mind Swimathon that the city co-sponsored. And then we also do one for each of the schools in the district at the end of the school year, like a little 1 to 2 hour party for the 5th and 8th and 6th graders. And as you can see, some parties really go all out with their decorations. Thought it was a fun little picture. They don't normally have that many, but it was pretty cool. Most of the time it's pizza and cake. They're primarily birthday parties, but sometimes just little gatherings for people to get together, Girl Scout troop things. Next. One of our, I think this is one of the longest programs, and I was told possibly one of the longest senior programs, aside from the lunch.
Speak up a little bit, please.
I'm still too quiet.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get really close to the microphone.
project.
It's weird because you're not that far away.
Totally.
Right? Like, I'm gonna yell. So we have the water aerobics with Heidi Levinson, as she got her little arrow. It is a year-round class. She teaches it even during the winter. It definitely is more attended in the warmer months, but the people who take the class absolutely love it. It is 3 days a week, and this past year she's had an average of about 16 students per class. People can do a drop-in and just come to like one day, or they can sign up for like all the Mondays in a month and all the Wednesdays. Some people do all 3 days, all month. And let's see, my favorite quote. Heidi is attentive to her students. So these are quotes from her students. It makes us feel good and safe because of her. I didn't have to do physical therapy and I have a waist. And I've heard a lot of things about how necessary it is for especially getting older adults moving and the low impact on their joints. And then this year, oh yeah, move me. This year we just started 2 new types of classes, and they vary mainly, they're taught by different people. So we have Aquafit with Felina on Tuesday mornings, and that started in early July. And that's already getting about 15 students per class. And then we also have Water Fitness with Laura Zavikian, and that started mid-August. It's Monday nights to try to get the crowd, people who work all day, can't necessarily leave at 10 a.m. Yeah, I don't know what it says under the line.
I have a question.
15, yes.
What's Aquafit?
So Aquafit and water fitness are variations of kind of the water aerobics. They do different exercises, and the teachers all have different styles. But they're just different ways to get people moving and exercising in the water, aside from just lap swimming.
Okay.
And those right now, they're just drop-in options. In the future, we'll look to see more of a monthly option if the interest is there.
And how much do they cost?
Right now, they're $10 for residents and $12 for non-residents.
Thank you. Thank you.
So speaking of Laura, she is also, I think she's been doing this far longer than I've worked here. She is a private swim instructor, mostly for adults. So this year she's taught over 360 private and semi-private lessons. Her students range from people who are learning to swim, who they definitely wouldn't kind of want to sign up for a class with little kids, and then competitive athletes, people swimming triathlons, etc. She's actually gotten so popular that she has suggested another person come help. So she introduced me to one of her fellow teachers and colleagues to hopefully we'll get her onboarded for next high season.
You guys have similar hair.
I think the wind is making it stand up a little more too.
She's got 5 layers on.
Yeah,
I know.
that was definitely a winter photo shoot.
I was thinking the same thing.
That looks cold.
Welcome to Brisbane.
And then the people who like do those lessons tend to swim in the bay, like in the actual open water. So I think the pool is a nice warm little
Option
section. Yeah. So they're focused on technique and kind of swimming more efficiently. But Laura's a pro. I didn't get quotes from people, but I've only ever heard amazing things about her. And they love her fitness class as well.
That's cool.
So youth swim lessons are taught by our lifeguards and swim instructors. We offer them spring, summer, and fall. And they're technically for ages 6 months to 17 years. Generally, they kind of fall between 3 years and 13 years old. And then this past summer, so just the 8 months in June, July, August, or 8 weeks, sorry, we had a total of 683 registrations.
Is that a record?
I think so. I tried to offer more options and like more opportunities. So I think not all of the classes had waiting lists and filled up, but there were more of them, so more people got to take them.
Wow, that's great.
683. Wow.
Yeah. The swim instructors worked very hard all summer. They were pretty happy to get a little break at the end. And then just one of the quotes, I've seen my kids' confidence and comfort in the water grow rapidly, and that's due to the great work of your team. And they're amazing with the kids. I think a lot of them also took swim lessons at the pool. So it's kind of a fun, full circle moment for them. Fun little video. You want to wait? So, Dink and Dunk is a camp that Nicole started last summer. And it's a pickleball and swimming camp. So Dink is a pickleball term and Dunk is swimming. And they mostly hang out at the Littman tennis courts and at the pool. And they did some more indoor activities at the community center this year as well. This year we offered one more week than last year, so we have 3 weeks. And there was a total of 51 registrations with about 17 kids per session. They get to do stuff in the pool that they wouldn't normally get to do during rec swim because they're with counselors. And they kind of get to try new things and play games with each other. It's really fun. I'm like sitting there, so I hear a lot of it. And it's very entertaining, and hearing all the giggles is amazing. And then the last day of camp, actually, I had the honor of subbing in. So the kids wanted to make this video. They decided to do it on their own, and they just wanted us to record. You can see the person with the pink hair recording the other angle. This is their thing, so. The straggler. I think he was somebody's little brother. But that camp is primarily for like 10 to 13-year-olds. So it's like late elementary, middle school age. And then going to middle school age, we also partner with Littman Middle School and have PE classes during the day. They're happening right now, and then they'll stop between November and March and then start back up again in April. And they're usually, like, they're broken up, but the whole, like, the fall session is 6 weeks, and then the spring session is 6 weeks. And they come 4 days a week. And then we also have one of our head lifeguards, Mira, at school. She is Miss A, because she's also one of the teachers. And so she teaches our junior lifeguarding club in the fall and swim club in the spring.
Oh, wow.
Safety and certifications. So I teach a certification class 2 times a year to kind of bring in new lifeguards, hopefully get more people certified so we can hire more people. And then our lifeguards train once a month throughout the school year, and then we do 1 week long of training before summer, and then we train once a week throughout summer to make sure everybody is on their skills. So if something does occur, it's muscle memory and not something that they have time to think about, to try to limit that fight, flight, freeze thing. So we really like repeat and go over things and make sure everybody's skills are on it, and we go through all of the things many times throughout the year. And in the winter, one of our fun things is we jump in our winter clothes, so we get to wear jackets and pants and shoes in the water, to kind of simulate what it will feel like if you have to jump in with all of that. And it kind of determines what they wear to work. It's like, are you sure you want to wear those sneakers or the Uggs? Like, maybe you don't want to swim with those on. So it was a good learning experience just to like see how heavy it is to swim with those coats on, and then also to like kind of have them put into perspective while they're guarding. Like, it's raining and cold, but like, do you want to swim with it? And then I also want to give a big thanks to all the people in that photo. That's not everybody. We have about 35 part-time staff members at the pool. And without them, the pool would not be able to run. Nicole and I couldn't do it ourselves. They put in a lot of time, and I think that there's a lot of love and care that they seem to be very proud to be there, and a lot of them, they get along. They say that they're like a little family, so it's pretty cute. Yeah, next. Thank you. So we also couldn't operate the pool without support and just work from the other city staff and other departments. So this summer we had Brisbane PD and North County Fire come talk to the guards about what happens when they call 911 and kind of what they're looking for in the event of emergency, and then the difference of like what kind of behavior you would need to call PD for in like the comfort zone of that. And then the pool wouldn't work without the Public Works Building and Grounds crew. They have been putting in so many extra hours and coming in at any call of day, like whenever the chemicals, I'm sure you've heard about the chemicals in the heater. Whenever anything's a little bit off, we're like, hey, it's getting close, and then Keegan will come running over, and Keegan's team is great too. They know all of the things in the pump house and all the fancy chemicals that make it safe for everyone to swim and keep it warm. And then this year during May, it's Water Safety Month, we did a little Facebook outreach post to try to educate people on some things to help them be a little safer in the water. And in doing that, we got little pictures of the lifeguards when they were young. And I think the one on the bottom, the little girl, she's actually in the Brisbane pool when she was little. So that was pretty cool. Adult lap swim and recreation swim are definitely the things that are used the most frequently. So these are our fun little numbers. So throughout this year, I did the year as like last October to the end of September, we had 455 total monthly passes. about 38 swimmers per month, and they can swim unlimited. They can sometimes come twice a day. Anytime we're open for a lap swim. And then 58% were non-residents, 42 residents, and then 70% of them were seniors over 55, and 30% adults. And then for like the daily swim passes, so these can also include people just dropping in to do lap swim, or people like families coming to swim during rec swim. We had, I can't see the very bottom, but we had a 13% resident adult daily pass, 29 non-resident, 15 resident youth and senior, because they're like the same button on the point of sale system. And then, what does it say, Jovi? Whatever all of those are. If you do some math, it's whatever the remaining percentage is. But as you can see, we do have a lot more non-residents swimming than residents. And I think they definitely they care about the pool just as much as the residents would. And anytime we do have those unforeseen closures, it is absolutely heartbreaking and it's frustrating, and we try to limit as much as possible, but I think this is definitely their little piece of home too. And then this summer, we started an adaptive swim hour. So there's a little Google form at brisbaneca.org/adapt. And so it's basically just an hour a week. We do it on Sundays. And it's for anyone, 40%. What's going on? It's for anyone with a disability or their like caretakers, family members, friends, who can't attend public recreation swim due to like, some people get really overstimulated, or there's like too much movement in the water if they're like physically unable to handle that. It's really not limited. So basically, if they fill out the form and they want to come, as long as there's room to come, they're definitely welcome, and it's the same fees as just dropping in to swim. No age or swimmability restrictions. So I had some lap swimmers ask, they're like, if I'm rehabbing my hip, I'm like, yeah, you can still do lap swim. It came about mostly from a family whose child struggled with the overstimulation of the public swim just because it got too loud and he struggled to handle the environment. So we wanted to still give him some time to swim that was a little quieter. So
Yeah, I would just like to hope that if people, avail themselves to the adaptive swim hour, that they would be conscious of other people's needs.
yeah, that
and they're
is
not
like,
just going because, hey, maybe it's a little crowded, but, maybe they want to give some space to some people who really need it.
it definitely does not seem to be it's not really taken advantage of
Okay.
over the top, and the lap swimmers in the lanes are generally like not disturbing the shallow end area, so they still have their space. And it's very new, so we're still building it and getting the word out.
I think it's great.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Special events. So we have a few special events every year. We kind of try to keep them in the warmer months. So we did our Pirate and Mermaid Party in May, which was also the hottest day. So it was so crowded, and we ran out of all the supplies, not expecting it to be that crazy. But they did a little scavenger hunt with like rolled up pieces of paper, giving them clues to go to different not obstacle, but like little activities around the pool area. You can see them there. They had to build little boats to float the duckies in that picture. And then we had some of our lifeguards / mermaids who are magically turned into humans sometimes, but when they're in the water, they have mermaid tails. So they also were part of the scavenger hunt. We had some chocolate coins as the prize. It was pretty fun. And then we did our first Pride Party in June, which of course was a really cold day. So it wasn't super crowded, but it was amazing, and everyone who came was very supportive, and it was the most colorful the pool has been. And then Beach Bash in July, which was just beach themed. So we pulled out the volleyball net, had little inflatable surfboards, like small ones, not actual surfboards. And it was fun. Lots of families came. And I think we had popsicles. And then we did the Y2K party, which was to celebrate the community pool's 25th birthday, which on the plaque outside of the pool it says it was dedicated August 5th of 2000. So it was kind of cool to sing. And we had Jeremy Dennis, the city manager there, and Seppi Richardson, the former mayor. So you can see they got their little pic. And I realized Seppi's in the back of the pic in the middle too. And actually most of those kids were LITs from summer camp that left camp a little early to come to the party, so that was cute. And then upcoming we have our dive-in movie, and we're gonna watch Ghostbusters. So they can float or swim in the water, or they can sit on deck if they want. Yeah, that's my presentation. Oh, thank you. Questions?
Can I ask my yearly question? How many complaints have we gotten for our pricing?
It's definitely gone down, so we didn't change them this fall. So we haven't really gotten any recently. It mostly happened when we first changed them. And then some people who like didn't come to the pool for over a year are like, oh, your fees are different. Yes. I think everywhere fees are different. So we're like, yeah. But for the most part, people have kind of stopped talking about it because it's been over a year.
I just love that we gave swimming lessons to 681 people. Like if you look at the percentage of our population, and I know they're not all Brisbaneans. So do you have a breakdown of that? How many are local and how many are swim lessons similar to our pool in general, that it's more kind of out of town than in town?
I don't have the exact numbers, but it definitely is more non-residents than residents because we do the resident registration 2 weeks ahead of time before the non-residents can sign up, and they're not full at all. And then once non-residents sign up, they usually fill up.
Well, just congratulations. Well done. I think it's so important. I know I say this every year, but drowning is the number one way that young people get into trouble. And so I'm so glad we're doing our part, not just for this city, but for everyone around us to teach kids how to swim. It's really important.
Thank you.
5,000 more people down there coming to our pool.
Yeah.
We got to save more people.
It is something we have to think about.
I'd like to make a comment, or two actually. Number one, when my kids were growing up here in Brisbane, I had to go to Belmont to get them swim lessons. I had to go that far to get swim lessons. Number two, I've taken Heidi's classes. I have to tell you, if you ever have a party, hire her because she has the best playlist you'll ever hear. She really does, honestly. I know Heidi because we used to be neighbors, but she is so committed to making you feel good, and I've often thought that perhaps we should have her go to some of the senior meetings and tell them, like, I went because I got the senior rate because I almost drowned when I was little in the Mississippi River. I've always been afraid of water. I don't mind pools. I don't do lakes a lot. I'll fish. That's about it. But Heidi is she makes you feel included in everything. And the other thing is that a lot of people were afraid to show up in a bathing suit. You get older, it's like, oh, what do I look like? She could care less, and you get the feeling you could care less too. But she is just delightful. But I got to tell you, she changes that playlist every lesson, and it's just wonderful. I even told her someday I'm going to have a party and hire you. She goes, I'm crashing it anyway, so. But she is just great. But I really wish she would go to some of the seniors and tell them what it's like to do it. I mean, I'd love to help her with that, that you don't have to worry about what you look like. And now they make bathing suits where, you don't look like you're headed for, the Miss California contest or something.
Yeah.
But she is terrific. And I just wanted to say that publicly.
Yeah,
Do you think she can get our ratings up here
Huh?
for our broadcast? Can she
Oh,
come
yeah.
and get our ratings up?
Yeah, if we had a soundtrack behind us,
Oh, yeah.
there you
Well,
go.
there you go. I like that. I'll take for my part, Led Zeppelin. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to do my request that I do all the time that nobody ever pays attention to.
You will. Go ahead.
But I really want, if we ever drain the pool, I really want a dog afternoon in the pool. It's been done all over the country and it's super popular. We could literally charge whatever we wanted. We could make money.
I
Okay?
actually did just ask today about that. So it's
Who did?
definitely not I did. It's not
You-
forgotten. I really want it to.
You
so,
really want it to
yes.
happen.
I think it'll
Okay.
be adorable.
Yeah, just one day. It's a dog party, dog pool party. One day. We would even like volunteer to clean up, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Anyways, that's my,
I'll film it for sure.
he'd film it.
Yeah.
We'd have great music, you know. It would really be a party too for the owners,
Yeah.
you know, great socialization. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
We're listening.
I like that.
Great work, no comments.
Thank you.
Really great work.
Anything else?
Anybody else? Any questions or anything? Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
just a quick shout out to Sarah because the summer at the pool is exhausting.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are open 7 days a week, all day long, starting from very early in the morning. And all of the staff that are there really work hard. And they have a lot of respect for Sarah and her leadership at the pool. And so we're so grateful to have her there and so grateful that they all survived the long summers. So thank you, Sarah, for all of your hard work and leadership at the pool. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And also, the Brisbane Community Pool is consistently has the most hits on the city website year after year, month after month. So it's the reason that a lot of people know about Brisbane is because of the pool. So great job.
Thank you.
It's a great resource.
Mhm. Yes, it is. All right, old business, coastal cleanup debrief.
So I just have very quick highlights that Jeff shared with me because he was our lead staff on that in partnership with Open Space and Ecology. It was held out at the Brisbane Marina this time, and it was the same day as the Sierra Point Yacht Club's annual event.
Perfect timing.
They had 95 volunteers, which was the most ever. So a phenomenal turnout of volunteers. They collected 460 pounds of trash, 131 pounds of recyclables, so 590 pounds total were removed. And the most, Jeff wanted me to share, the most unique item that they found was a car bumper.
Oh,
So-
that's where it went, okay.
So all in all, a very successful event, and thank you to all the volunteers who participated.
Okay, day in the park and Derby debrief.
All right, so I'm just going to share some announcements from the day, and then we have a video that we're going to play for you as well. So the Derby winners under the ages 5 through 9 category. First place was James Saunders. Second place was Rhea Heavner. Ages 10 through 13. First place was Vincent Cuss. Second place, Jack Larson. Special awards, the Bravest Driver Award went to Cedar Dedeco Shui. Bravest Driver Honorable Mention went to Ria Bondari. Best Sports Person went to Luke Larson. Best Looking Car went to Maxwell Veray. And the Dan Sorrentino Spirit Award was awarded to Drew Schaefer. So those are your announcements from the Derby. It was super fun. We had the PD representatives out there who used their radar gun to see how fast the cars were traveling. Any guesses how fast the fastest cars were?
30? No?
Wow.
That would be
Okay, that'd be crazy.
impressive.
Helmets for sure.
18 miles per hour was
Woo,
the
flying.
fastest clocked car. So still really good.
Good.
And then announcements from the baking contest winners. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your leadership on that. It's always fun to see the participation. And I think we get residents participating in that who don't participate in other things. So it draws out a different audience, which is really great. So first place went to Lisa Carter. Second place was Alessandra Wood. And third place was Michelle Salmon for all of their delicious cookies. Volunteers of the Year were awarded, which included Herman Reese, and Youth Volunteer of the Year, our very own YAC President Sebastian Bousquet. We had over 40 vendors out there, so it was overall a phenomenal turnout and a great celebration of everything Brisbane. So with that, we'll go ahead and play the video, and then I'll open it up to commission for you to provide feedback and debrief from the day.
The slog. Cute. Terrified. Oh, there he is. Timmy.
Cool. My favorite part of the bake sale or the baking contest was the little girl that came up. She was on her way to soccer practice and she wanted to know how she had done, and we hadn't judged it yet. But she went on her way to soccer practice. She had her dad stop.
No, I talked to her because she came back after
Okay.
it was over, and she didn't win, but she was really good. All the entries were amazing. It was very hard to pick winners, but she was a little disappointed. And then I said, "Hey, why don't you take your cookies to your soccer practice and give them to your soccer friends?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so she was
That
excited.
Just adorable.
She was
just
adorable. She really was into it, and the cookies were amazing. So shout out to all the bakers.
Yeah.
You really outdid themselves this year. We had how many? 11 entries,
Yeah, I think it was.
which was good. Yeah, which was good. Yeah, it was tough, but we picked the good ones.
It was hard to judge. You had to keep tasting, tasting, tasting. It was really good.
Do you guys have
did we
palate
not-
cleansers? Like cheese or something to palate cleanse?
Did we not have a big wheel? No big wheel entries this year? Darn, we'll have to play that up next year.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I have heard nothing but good things. Like, people were they just said everything worked beautifully. There was something for everyone. I was very sad to miss it, but it was so lovely to see the video recap. But I just want to thank everyone involved for putting on this amazing event.
And the weather was fabulous.
Wasn't it? Perfect.
I wanted to give a special shout out to the grandstand and all of the hard work that Tom put into editing and directing and making sure the camera went right like all day. That was a lot.
I'm so glad I got to see the video because I didn't get to see anything. That was a full day, went by really quickly, and I learned so much about the history of Brisbane through all of our seniors and our youth, and we got to keep that going. It's really important.
I agree.
I had no idea we had ducks, and I didn't get to see anything. So I'm glad I got to see all that. My kids had a great time too, and that's how I judge everything in life.
Except when I got home, I kept looking at the TV because you kept saying, "Look at the camera." And when I sat down, I was like, stare right at the TV. Don't look around. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business, it says NA, which means we don't have it.
Byron, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I also wanted to, probably just because I'm coming to this day in the park as the first year as on the commission, so I'm actively going there looking for sort of like, okay, what do I think, obviously it went great overall, but I'm going there looking specifically for things I'm like, okay, maybe this could go differently. So some of the notes that I had made was, I know funding and profit and stuff is always a big thing, and sponsors, but having less corporate booths and more maybe a farmer's market booth, inviting local businesses, Etsy craft shop type places, county fair rather than farmers insurance, obviously I'm sure there's a corporate sponsor and some other stuff going on there, but that was just initial, even if obviously we want to keep the corporate sponsors, but
how do we?
incorporating some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think we need to figure out how to attract more artisans and more vendors, local vendors. We'll have to think. Maybe we could, create a vendor village or something, and give them a break on a booth for their first year or something like that. just to get people to try it.
Yeah, the paid booth model like was obviously a great thing, but also having some booths that are like, what if it's a scholarship program or something to get sort of, we're paying some attractions to come. So if a booth is making money, but they're also sort of like an attraction, maybe not charging them so they're coming as well. Could be like a happy medium there, because I know, especially with my generation, like the Pinterest generation is I think what I like to call it, the aesthetic, artisan, farmer's market sort of energy it's been present in some past years. I know there's like the leather working, and there was like the pottery booth this year, so there was some of it. But and even just like putting them together for like a picture or like an Instagram, like that's the other thing I was thinking about, is like having more active opportunities for people to do their social media things. There's like, walls that people take pictures at. So if there's like a place that had like maybe a backdrop or was in front of something notable and said like Brisbane Day of the Park, sort of, very frameable, purposeful social media attraction, that would probably be minimal. I mean, it would probably cost a little bit, but would be usable year to year. And then the last thing I was thinking about was also on that same note on the games. I understand like wanting to keep things safe and for kids, but just looking at it is just all inflated. Just inflatable axe throwing, inflatable bouncy house, inflatable something. Even just one or two like non-inflatable sort of games, just to break up the scenery of, okay, this is just a wall of bouncy castle area. The inflatables are great for young people and keeping them safe. I'm not like trying to take away that all, but just breaking up the monotony and incorporating some stuff for some other groups at the same time. Those are sort of the three things that I brought away that are hopefully going to be helpful in some way to have that extra perspective. But not to criticize all of the amazing things that did go. The petting zoo was amazing. The derby was amazing. The grandstand was amazing. The band was an amazing choice.
Fun
But
choice.
just going out there specifically to find like a couple.
I have to say, I got up early to get set up, and these guys work hard. And it was orchestrated like a film crew. I mean, it was incredible. To be behind the scenes with them, I was like, can I get some help? Great job. It really is amazing.
Anyone else? Okay. Day in the Park and Derby debrief. Reports chairperson. Is that me?
Yep. Did you have anything?
I got an amazing poster from the nursery, Mission Bay Nursery it's called. And Renee and I are going to be trying to incorporate some of these plants down here to attract the butterflies on top. I'm also having it framed to hang in my living room because I love it so much. And I talked to Mission Bay, and they've said that they will work with me and Renee and Paul, who's Gal, for native plants at our little strip that we kind of took over. And then onward to the Bicentennial Walkway. They're going to work with me on that to get something going there. But that post, what I liked about this year, the vendors, and I noticed the insurance too, but hey, I'm into anybody who wants to do what you want to do it. I got to talk to people that, like OSEC, I watched their meetings. I know Michelle, I don't know the rest of the people, but there was a woman there that we ended up talking. And that was neat to meet people that do the same thing we do, and their meetings are long. And it was fun to do that. And then to actually talk to people at Mission Bay Nursery and how much they want to help. And she goes, some people ask us and some people don't. So I ended up getting a poster. And I really enjoyed it. And then the other one, not rideshare, Brisbane Helping Hands. I didn't realize how much they do, so I signed up with them. You know, and I got to meet Tony Accardi, something
Mhm.
like that, Press.
He's great.
What a nice man. I've always seen him around, heard about him, bought his book, but didn't know him. So we ended up forming a friendship. I mean, when I left there, I felt like we are going to be friends. But I love this poster, and I realized how much other people do things and you don't even realize it. You know, I mean, you watch a meeting or you hear about it or you see something on Facebook. To actually talk to the people is what I really liked about it. You know, so that's what I have to say about that. And now on to subcommittees. Public Art Advisory Committee meeting held on 9/15.
Oh, boy.
I was there.
Oh, good.
I will go a little bit from memory, and I'm looking at Nicole and Noreen too. But it was a great meeting. I thought we are moving forward on a lot of things. One thing I just do want to point out, because it was in the blast today, was a sneak peek at the stairway that is being done, and it is drop dead gorgeous, like stunning, stop you in your tracks, like jaw to the ground, gorgeous. So thrilled with how that is going. We are putting out an RFQ for Firth Park. We are looking at benches. A lot of the meeting was spent on benches and deciding which benches we wanted to. There are two modes. So we're doing like 3 really artistic benches where we want them to be works of art and also places where people can sit. And then we are also looking at just increasing the number of benches where we had a bench perhaps and we want to put a more artistic bench, taking that bench and moving it to a place where it can be used. So 3 places where we just need benches and 3 places where we want to do very artistic works of art. So RFQs will be coming for both of those. We decided 3 locations for the artistic benches, and I will not at all be able to remember them. But I felt like we made some good decisions.
Dog park.
Dog park, yes.
The library, and I can't remember that. Was it the harbor or?
Awesome memory, Tom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
the dog park, because we thought there could be a very nice artisanal bench, kind of similar to South City, which has some really nice artistry with their dog park. The library, which could also have an amazing, and the harbor. So more to come, but those were the highlights that I took away from it. Anything I missed, Tom?
Which
No,
library, the new
We
one?
got to
or
celebrate
old one?
the
The
opening.
new one.
Do you already have one?
Or, I'm sorry, the old one, the community center?
Yeah, but they're talking about it's a great place to have a bench because it's a hill and
Mhm. Exactly.
it could be part of that whatever happens there. There could be a community signboard component to it, and yeah, just a little help as you go up that hill. As I get older, I'm feeling it as well. A lot of benches.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate that the pathway somehow. How do we do that? I mean, is that our job as Park and Rec to celebrate the art group, or
I'm sure the city
because
will have some kind
that's
of
going to
ribbon.
be a great opening.
Kind
It's
of
hard to find. I don't think anyone knows it. I don't think anyone even knows about it.
Yeah, so it's still under construction. The construction crew's still on site. We anticipate that the artists will get on site to install within the next couple of months. So the Public Art Advisory Committee will most likely plan for an unveiling event of some sort.
Great. More to come.
Would that be something that would be a good idea to try to coincide with a block party since it's right on a block?
Heck yeah.
It could be. It would require participation and involvement from the neighbors. So.
That's my block. Woohoo.
Great
Okay,
report.
Anything else from Public Art? On Trail of Development Subcommittee meeting?
Yes, I was at that meeting. It was a good one. Lots was said. We had citizens communication. Michael Barnes did a big kind of presentation of his idea of shared multi-use trail examples.
That was Michael Barnes.
That was
Yeah,
Michael
and
Barnes.
that was e-bikes, right?
I've only heard legends.
Okay, well, that was him. Anyways, he was putting forth his vision of possibly exploring trails that could be made in the acres, that could possibly be kind of, through the woods kind of trails for bikes. And also talked about the difference of different e-bikes on the Crocker Trail, and how, there's not supposed to be any motorized things on the Crocker Trail. However, a lot of people use e-bikes now, and there are different modes of e-bikes. There's some that are really powerful and some that are just kind of less powerful, that just help people, facilitate people getting on bikes, which are very common these days, used to not be. So that was something to consider, maybe changing our regulations on what can be on that trail. What else? Mary was there, wanting to talk about how we need to understand the habitat conservation plan in the Brisbane Acres before we go forth with any plans. All that will be explored, but it was a good conversation, I thought. And then we had inventory and mapping, official and unofficial trails we have. How do we possibly come up with some interactive map? Maybe it's online, that people can access if they want to explore some of the trails on the mountain, that right now we have no access, formal access to. Public versus private property overlay, and then tree inventory. Did we talk about a tree inventory?
Yep, we sure did.
We did?
Mhm.
Okay, what was
Just
it?
a few minutes of it, but
Just a few minutes?
yeah. But to try and identify some of the trees, which, that's why I said I thought Paul Buscal should have been there, because he knows all the trees. I mean, he can stand there and tell you, this is this, this is this, this is that.
The trees on the mountain and the
Trees
trails?
on the mountain, because he leads hikes up there.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. I'm reading these notes, they're kind of cryptic. Partners, there's lots of partners on our trails. We have OSEC, San Mateo County Parks, South San Francisco, Colma, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, public trails, quarry trails, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, lots of different moving parts on our trails. We talked about volunteerism and opportunities. What opportunities can people do to make our trails better? Are there volunteer opportunities? We talked about there are. Ambassador roles and guidance, identify process and have an approval procedure, and tie into habitat restoration events, possibly. Friends of the Trail groups, maybe forming something like that. And you talked about Paul Buscal being an example of doing frog habitat restoration, and how, habitat restoration along our trails could be a good thing to do. Additional, it said that, we were talking a lot about how we could get the maps to the unofficial trails. And Michael Barnes says he's been walking the trails with an app that tracks him, that what was it? It was I don't know what it was.
Something cryptic from 2016.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There's also, I mentioned that I've used Strava, which will also, you can just turn on, and then, anyways, so we were talking about having a bunch of people in town do their walks, map their trails, and somehow get it to our city to plug into a master trail map. And then we can maybe have pictures taken. Like I want to do, in the springtime, I want to do a waterfall map. So that people know, if you take this trail, there's waterfalls here, there's waterfalls here, and they can expect to go up and see waterfalls, which is really fun. And, there's lots of different features along these trails that you can take pictures of, that I know parts of the mountain, and other people know even better than me, like where the lupine are especially beautiful, what time of year, where you might see a mission blue, and just kind of putting the seasonal highlights out there, also interacting with the map. Let's see.
Yeah, the mapping stuff was the main takeaway that I had from the meetings, was basically that the next steps are sort of figuring out the mapping, starting to consolidate our information, formalize our information, and then once we actually have definitions and names and organizations for these trails, that's when we can maybe start discussing or thinking about some of these more specifics of undergrowth or bike features or things like that that are sort of more big picture and harder to, okay, we could walk up there and we could start placing random bike features that nobody knows about or aren't formalized or this, that, or the other. So that was my big takeaway. Is it seems like there are lots of active people in the community who are interested in getting involved. And I think once the new website happens, is that a month out at this point? Or going off old estimates?
Yeah, I mean, that's a Caroline question. I know there's some internal meetings and trainings happening with the new website. I think within the next month, we'll certainly have an update that we can share.
Nice, yeah. And then once that's a thing, we can start actually making those maps, and that'll, I think, empower both this Trails Committee and future Trails Committees to start being able to do more actionable things.
Yeah. There was also a conversation with Renee, and I believe you, Trudy, didn't you go out and clean up some
Oh, yes.
some spots on the trail, like volunteer opportunities to take possession of a big mess that you see and say, I'm going to do something about this, and it happened to be by a trail, but I think because it's a trail and people walk by it all the time, you notice, right? It's public property. It should look good.
Yeah, we came up with not only see something, say something, but do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Seriously. And she saw something, said something, and we did something.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and it's amazing how many people stop and ask you, are you volunteers? And we didn't say we were commissioners. We went, yeah, we're volunteers.
Right.
We decided that would be our approach.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting 2 people that signed up for the next thing we do. We want to help. A lot of people want to help. They just don't know who to go to.
Well, and I think that is where our new nonprofit could organize some volunteers for things like that.
Yeah, but then again, you just take it when you can get it,
Yeah, that's true.
Because
But
I
it gives
took
you
down phone numbers.
It gives you an umbrella to say, hey, we're gonna put a spotlight on this, cleaning up, take pick a spot, and then you'll have volunteers show up.
Yeah, 'cause that was the other thing we talked about, is the push and pull of no matter what you're doing, somebody's gonna not like it. And so with just a purely unorganized volunteer force, that can become petty or competitive, or,
Yeah.
neighbors one person plants it, the other person pulls it up.
Awesome.
So that's where, I agree with a lot of the just do say something, do something, but that's where a larger volunteer organization can make the difference.
Yeah, but you start out small and then you get big.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how everything happens as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
If somebody says, I want to help, take their phone number and say, hey, we're going to be doing this soon.
Yep.
And give them a call. Because some people are intimidated. This woman told me, she was, I've lived here forever, I always wanted to do something, but I didn't know who to call. I said, call me. We'll go from there. I'll steer you in the right direction. Renee goes, yeah, we'll steer you in the right direction. Okay, so.
There's always somebody who knows what's happening in Brisbane.
Yeah,
It's great.
and that's for all of us. I mean, not just me, but, if somebody says, I want to do something, and I'm sure you all do. You're all on different committees. You've done more than me.
But that's why we're here.
Oh, yeah. And is moving along, Teen Services Subcommittee meeting.
Yeah, so that was a really cool one. we went and introduced ourselves to the kids and the YAC members, and well, we didn't hear so much, but told them about the Parks and Recs and told them how much we appreciated them and all the work they do and stuff. And then we also helped to facilitate some conversations. I think it was a good example of how conversations could go for them. With me and Julie like jumping into the conversations with ideas, and I think that showed some of the kids what that could look like who might not have wanted to speak up anyways. You know, once there was some participation, I at least I felt like a lot more of the kids were willing to speak up, and I tried to formalize like a you know, after something happened, that everybody who was involved tries to go around like, oh, what's one thing that went well, one thing that went poorly, because they had been sort of talking about, I think it was like a short point when they had 5 kids on a subcommittee to work on a like a newsletter entry, and only 2 of the kids had entered something. So I think a lot of the kids at first were like feeling targeted or feeling called out, and so I tried to go and talk to them about how it's not about making anyone feel bad. It's about figuring out like how this can go better in the future and how that they can get supported better. So we did some stuff like, okay, maybe in the future it's a good idea to meet in person rather than communicating through text, to make formal plans before splitting into groups. And Sarah had some ideas about having a soft and a hard deadline to help the kids with more busy schedules and stuff like that. So it was just sort of lots of like structural and standard setting for the next generation of YAC volunteers.
Yeah, and I will say it was fun to see you, Byron, kind of go at that, because these are real skills to build, you know, like not just pointing the finger, but like how do we prevent it in the future? And it just reminded me of like a mini boardroom. So it was fun to see those being developed in real time. I really enjoyed seeing the YAC and how they communicate and all of the things on their plate. And I think they decided a theme for next year, which will be third spaces, which Byron was encouraging. So it was all really great, and really nice to just listen in and figure out like how they're communicating what's on their mind. Awesome to see Nicole and Sarah, like, you know, leading that team and definitely going above and beyond to make sure they're having a really good experience.
All right. Setting subcommittee meetings.
So the next public art meeting is already set for October 20th. And staff would recommend also setting a meeting for the Festival of Lights Subcommittee and the Rec Programs Subcommittee. So
And
we can.
If I may, for the Festival of Lights, JoJo and Aaron have kind of some specific schedules coming up in the next few weeks. And so we will be meeting with them initially. And then we hope to have a subcommittee meeting on November 12th. And I wanted to see if that date worked for our Festival of Lights subcommittee. So we can have Jovi send that out, or we could just confirm. But anytime after 5 on that 12th.
Who's on that committee?
That's
I'm no longer on that committee.
I am. I'm
So
on.
it's
Renee.
Renee, Trudy, and Natalie.
Mhm.
So we'll confirm by email with Trudy or with Renee and Natalie not here.
Okay. And let's see, commissioners, anybody?
Oh, and then the rec program, I don't know if we
Oh,
want to
rec program.
schedule that one.
So Rec Programs is Renee, Natalie, and Julie. So we'll email prospective dates for those also.
All right. Commissioners have anything they want to say? Already done it. Staff?
All right, everyone. So upcoming programs, our Life Unlocked, the Life Skills series is scheduled for October 23rd. We have some enrollment in that programming, and we're hoping to get a few more to secure the date. And so that's an intro to auto maintenance, intro to household budget and household issues. That's free for residents 16 to 24. If there's anyone outside of that age range, younger, they can just reach out and hopefully we can get you signed up for that. And then any non-residents, it is $25, but a really wonderful opportunity, and we look forward to seeing that get off the ground. A lifeguard certification class, what Sarah was talking about, and how we need always need more lifeguards, November 6th to the 9th here at our community pool. You may have seen promoted at Day in the Park and also through the Blast, but it's the first time that we are offering an ugly holiday sweater design contest. Initially, that design period had ended, but we are extending that another week or so. We can't do it too much longer, just because we need to get voting and the next steps going, but we are accepting through next week. We have already received 4 submissions, which is wonderful, but would love more. So we hope to see more artists submitting their submissions, and that the link is on our Festival of Lights page with all of the holiday sweater details and a template. So we hope you submit. Other upcoming events to look out for, if you go to City Hall in the conference room, it also doubles as an art display showcase room. Eric Beatty, who is also a part of the Artist Evening of Sharing, has his photography up, and we'll be doing a showcase on October 16th, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So we welcome the community to come by and get to chat with him. As Sarah mentioned, the Dive-In movie, which is the Ghostbusters, the original version, on October 18th. And of course, we have to wait for it to be closer to sunset to be able to show. So we hope to see folks there. And there is an entry fee. It's just the standard pool entry fee for that. There's a Halloween teen dance, October 24th at Mission Blue. Parents' Night Out, which is a Halloween theme, on October 25th. A Howloween for our dog lovers, October 30th at Community Park. November 8th, our Yak will be participating in a Yak Social, and that's all the various Yaks from all over the peninsula and beyond coming together to plan Yak Attack, which is a conference that occurs biannually. So that's coming up. There's an age-friendly event that's now going to be taking place at Mission Blue through the Center for Age-Friendly Excellence, and that's on November 12th. And then Thanksgiving week camp registration is open, and that's the week of Thanksgiving.
For the Life Unlocked series, have we advertised that or shown that to our lifeguards and leaders in training? Cool. I figured that you guys probably thought of that, but wanted to check.
Always open to more ideas, but I really feel like we have done our due diligence in getting that out there, so we're hopeful that we'll get a few more to secure.
Anything else? Okay. Written communications?
We do not have any.
Then at this point, I believe we are done for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. And the next regularly scheduled meeting will be November 12th, 2025, and at 8:45 p.m. on October 8th, 2025. This meeting is adjourned.
Well done,
Wow.
Trudy.
Okay.